On this syllabus yesterday, hopefully you saw that there's going to be a quiz this coming Tuesday, so a week from today. Okay, it is the only true quiz or test that you have with constructions. Okay, I'm very open about what's on it. In fact, it'll be some of these. So if you'd like to take a picture of this, I've taken, I think, 6 of these constructions. You don't know how to do any, well, you know how to do one of them right now. But over the next week, you will know how to do all of those. So with constructions, it's a very physical activity. Like it's you have to be able to use the compass yourself. Okay, it's not like the answer is 7 and you can see it on somebody else's face. Okay, so I'm very open about what's on the quiz because these are just things that you have to be able to do. And I'll bring this list back up throughout the week and through the beginning of next week to make sure we know what everything is. Okay. There is no test for this chapter. The problem with constructions is if you goof up, you have to kind of start over. Okay? And just because you goof up doesn't mean you didn't know what you were doing. Sometimes that just happens with constructions, or your compass slips, or one thing or another. So it doesn't, except for the very, very basic constructions, it's not really good test material. Instead, we do a project where you kind of build your own, constructions and your own quiz, test, however you want to think about it. And we'll get to those details at the end. Okay. For this chapter, you are going to need your textbooks a lot. Did you see the announcement that went out this morning to bring a textbook? Okay, so I do have a couple you can borrow today. I would, if I were you, coordinate with your table as far as having 1, maybe 2 people bring a textbook. Like take turns, because as you notice, like you already have a lot of stuff on your desk, right? You don't have a whole lot of room for a textbook as well. And it's not a chapter you can take a picture of somebody else's book with because you're measuring things out of your book. Okay, so that's why you kind of need your book. So again, like coordinate that among your table to figure out maybe who can bring it one day versus the next day. That way it's not always the same person's responsibility. Any questions about anything from the syllabus? Okay, as far as notes go, every day I'm going to teach you a new construction or 2. We don't learn a whole lot of new constructions all at the same time because honestly you have to learn it and practice it before it starts sinking in. And if I just start dumping a whole bunch of constructions on you, you're not going to remember how to do any. Okay, so you learn a couple of constructions at a time. I think we do at the most 2 a day. I know we use them a lot. So in terms of notes, I'm going to teach you how to use all of, or how to do all of them. But on Google Classroom, I posted some material for you. In this are basically the notes for this chapter. So I have here like how to make a regular hexagon, which was really just our daisy, right? So there's the step-by-step instructions. Today we're going to learn how to make segments and how to copy an angle. What you'll notice is anytime you see a TV, that's a link for a short video of just how to do that construction. Yes? Yeah, are you guys cold?
Yeah.
Seriously?
I'm up here.
Can we change like the direction?
Oh, yeah. Cold.
I don't get to
Fine.
I'm sit right next to it. It's
It's
over here it is very hot.
Oh, God.
Maybe with like trade.
I would.
This week is real full. The rest of the one's not full, but it's on this area. Okay, so back to the material. So you can sharpen that up. On the Google Classroom, I have the notes to the chapter, which gives you step-by-step instructions on how to do each construction, and there's links to videos on how to do just that construction. Like they're really short videos, like a minute long. Okay, so the resources are out there. You're welcome to print it if you want to print it. I don't know that you really need to, but you're welcome to do that. Okay, so all the constructions that we're going to do are listed there. Good? All right. Let's see what else. I think that's it. All right, so today what we're going to do, today we are going to copy the length of the segment and we're going to copy the measure of an angle. Those are our two constructions for the day. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to copy the length of a segment. So what I'd like you to do is draw on your paper with a straight edge a segment, and I want you to name that segment AB. I would make it at least 2 inches long, like estimate, like it doesn't have to be precise, but you don't want it teeny tiny. Okay, so we are going to duplicate the length of segment AB. So we're going to make another segment that's just as long. Keeping in mind, you don't really have a ruler to work with. You have a straight edge. Okay, so we're not using any of the measurement features of that ruler. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to draw another segment that's longer than our original. So I'm going to make another segment near it that's longer than our original. I'm going to call the endpoint on the left, I'm going to refer to that as A prime. So do you remember how when we were talking about naming points, I said in a figure you can't have the point A twice because there was already a point A? Okay, so A prime means it's a new point, but it's related back to that old A. So A prime says I've taken and changed A somehow that they're related. Okay, if I were to change it again, I could call it A double prime. It's like two little tick marks. Are you familiar with that? Those markings? Some people are, some people aren't. You use it a lot in transformation. Do you remember like in middle school when you had like a triangle that was on a graph and they had you move it like three to the right and 2 down? Okay, so if that original triangle was ABC, your new triangle should have been called A prime, B prime, C prime, meaning it was related back to that original triangle. Okay, so you'll be seeing that a lot more, especially when we get into transformations. Okay, so this is called A prime. I need to find the location of B prime. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my compass and I'm going to set the opening of my compass to be the length of AB. So you want to set your opening and lock down your compass. Did I get everybody a compass? Was there anybody who was not here Friday? You were here Friday?
So like say your compass and like the top line, so top line, so it's AB, so here AB. Yeah, you do it all the time. How does your compass like this? Did you know they have enough strength to light up your pinky or right just touching them too?
All right, so you should have your compass opening set to be the length of AB, right? Keep in mind, that's a radius. That's a radius. Because I can make a circle with my compass. Right, so I just set my radius. So what I'm going to do now is move the point of my compass down to A prime. Move the point of my compass down to A prime, and then once you're there, you just swing an arc. So move your point to A prime, and then swing an arc.
So that looks normal.
Where that arc intersects that long segment, that is B prime. We really just copied that radius down to a new segment. Now, when you do constructions, you do not erase extra stuff. Okay? We leave the big arc there, we leave the extra part of the segment. It's equivalent, like leaving all that stuff is equivalent to showing your steps when solving an algebra problem. Okay, it shows me that you created a longer segment, and it shows me that you measured with your compass and you marked with your compass versus marking with a ruler. Okay, so that arc tells me that you did use the compass. This is the printer back there. All right, so you do it again. Make another segment, call it whatever you want. It's duplicated. Making another segment duplicated. There's no other letter class. It's just you don't, you just kind of just set it wherever it needs to be. That's all it means.
It's like
Any questions about copying a segment? Ladies, come in. Any questions about copying the length of a segment? No. All right, so next what we're going to do is we're going to copy the measure of an angle. Okay, so before we do that, keep in mind, when I'm talking about the measure of an angle, I'm talking about the opening here. Because really, the legs are rays, right? They go on forever and ever and ever. So I don't really care how long the rays are. We're duplicating the degree measurement here. Okay? So what I want you to do is take your straight edge and draw an acute angle, please. Make sure it's acute this time. All right, so I'm going to call this angle A. I'm going to call this angle A, so we're going to create angle A prime that is congruent to the original angle A. All right, so I'm going to give myself a starter ray, basically over here. This is going to become A prime. So that's going to be my vertex over there. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna open our compass, and you can open it to anything you want. And here's what you're gonna do with it. You're gonna put the point of your compass on your vertex, and we're gonna swing an arc that goes all the way across the angle opening. So any size, any opening you want to the point on your vertex, swing an arc across, all the way across the opening. Then leave your compass setting as is. So keep in mind, we just drew a part of a circle, right? We just drew an arc. I want to duplicate this arc over on A prime. So I'm going to move my point back to A prime. And I'm going to make that big arc again. All right, now, what we're going to do is we have, on my original angle, I have 2 points of intersection here, right? So that arc created 2 points of intersection that, because it's a radius, they are equidistant from A. Does that make sense? Because it's a radius, from A to this yellow dot and A to this yellow dot, those are congruent segments. Is that okay? That's the point we use, that's when we use this radius. So A prime to this point of intersection, that's also congruent. Those, all three of those are the same length because they're all the same radius. What I'm going to do now is take my compass, and I'm going to set the opening to go from point of intersection to point of intersection. So that yellow dot to the yellow dot. I'm going to adjust a little lot on mine. But set it to go from point of intersection to point of intersection. Are we good? Okay, now notice my point is on a point of intersection, right? The point of my compass is on a point of intersection. I want to move my point to the point of intersection on my new angle. So move your point to the point of intersection on your new angle, and we're going to swing an arc so that it crosses the original arc. So move your point to the point of intersection, and you're going to swing an arc. So this arc that we created, when you do constructions, it's a lot like a system of equations. You know, like a system of equations is looking where two graphs intersect and they agree at the same time, right? Okay, so that's what's happening here, except it's the circles. So we have, let's see, excuse me. Thank you. Thank you. All right, so I had my original big arc there, and then I had the opening between my 2 points of intersection. So this arc represents all the different lengths that are that exact same length. I want to know, where do they agree? Right here, where X marks the spot, is where they agree. So I can now take my straight edge, join my vertex through the X, and you should have a duplicate angle.
Guys, eyeball it, Ron.
Take your protractors and see how good a job you did. See how accurate you were, or were not.
Oh, I can't.
Okay, I want you to do this again, but this time make it a obtuse angle. Make an obtuse angle. But think about this, when you do that, that first arc that you make is gonna be pretty big, right? It's gonna be pretty long, maybe I should say, which means when you go to make that arc over here, it needs to be really long too. Okay, so go ahead and give it a try, I'll flip around.
Yes. Yes.
I'm pretty.
What?
Jenna, do you need to go to timeout? She needs to take a maturity note. You ate all my goldfish?
Oh my.
Anybody need help?
It doesn't So did you do one point wrong with you
I guess so. All right, I'm gonna keep floating around and helping people. Your homework tonight, listen please, is on page 145, number 1 through 8. We don't have a whole lot of time today. I'm sorry. Usually I give you a lot of time. So do your best. I'm not going to take off points if you don't get it done, but you should try to do some of the homework, okay?
deal?
I think 55 is the You have
$10.
Anybody else need help?
Yeah, every time you go